Hey guys, happy Saturday. Ignore the no makeup and the hair, but just watched an episode of Dr. Quinn, season 2, episode 24, The Campaign. So this is where Dr. Mike runs for mayor. They start off the episode with everyone's in the church having a town meeting about the sewer system of the town, about hiring a new teacher. You know, Dorothy's busy with the paper. She can't always be the teacher every day during the week. And, you know, then someone brings up that the town needs to hire a mayor. And Jake nominates Lauren. And Lauren's like, no. And he's like, I nominate Jake Slicker. And Jake, accepts that offer. And then Horace nominates Dr. Mike. Now, in today's world, no big deal, right? Women run for office. But back then, women weren't even allowed to vote unless they owned property. And they're just like, Lauren's like, she can't run for mayor. And they did check the town bylaws, and there was no rules about a woman running for mayor. They just had to, no rules. So Dr. Mike accepts the nomination, and Sully's not happy. Matthew's not happy. And the whole town thinks she's crazy, pretty much, except for Dorothy. And Dorothy becomes her campaign manager. And Lauren is Jake's campaign manager. Sully doesn't like it because, obviously, he wants to get back to courting. They had their special moment when he rescued her. And it seems like they're back together. Maybe not officially yet, but it seems like they're on their way to being back together. And she's like, I want to get back to courting too. And he's like, well, you're not going to have the time. You're the only doctor in town. If you're the mayor, your life will not be yours anymore, which is true. She's going to be so busy. And she's already so busy campaigning. It takes up a lot of her time. If she's not campaigning, she's at the clinic taking care of people. And it's just a lot. Matthew doesn't agree with the woman thing either, running for mayor at first, but he eventually warms up to it, thanks to Edith, who kind of convinces him that it would be a good thing. Sorry, because my dog is going crazy. So yeah, he eventually warms up to it. The first, town speaking that she does for her campaign is on the back of a wagon. She talks about the principles, she wants women to vote. She wants to get rid of prostitution, a teacher for the children, and, other sewer system, maybe paved roads, things like that. And, Jake and Horace and Lauren, they're all against her, of course, and Winter, hey. And Hank actually ends up hitting the horse, and it runs off, and she falls off the wagon. She's okay, but still, that's scary. Why would Hank have done that? That's so rude and mean. Grace is so excited that Dr. Mike is running for mayor, and Robert E. is kind of not. So not that he's a huge fan of Jake Slicker, obviously, because, of what he did to him when he wanted to buy a house in town. But he's also not hep on the idea of having a woman as mayor. He thinks that men have their roles, women have their roles, and they need to stick to that. So we're not ever really sure who he votes for. I think personally that he ended up voting for Dr. Mike. But they don't really show it, and he doesn't ever really say. So, Jake wanted to put up a sign saying vote for Jake Slicker at, the barn. He said no. He said he's not putting up Dr. Mike's sign either, but Grace is putting up Dr. Mike's sign in her cafe. Of course, Hank has voted for Jake on the saloon. He obviously doesn't want Dr. Mike to win. Horace, she tries to put one up at the telegraph office, but because it's a government business, Horace said unfortunately she can't. If it was up to him, he would absolutely do it. Eventually Sully does come around, of course, he always does, and he kind of does something special for Dr. Mike. But before we get to that, so in the saloon, there's evidently this guy that has been going to saloons hurting the women that are entertaining in the saloon. So he shows up at Hank's saloon, and I guess Hank just doesn't know about it. And, that man pays Hank for Myra's time. And she's scared. She tries to tell Hank, that's the woman beater that's been going around from town to town and saloon to saloon hurting women. And Hank doesn't believe it. He thinks she's just trying to get out of it. And he says, he paid for you. He paid for your time, so go do it. Oh, no pun intended. So Sully and Wolf happen to be walking by, and they hear her screaming. They don't hear her screaming in the saloon because there's some poker game going on and everyone's shouting and screaming and all excited. But Wolf hears it as well as Sully. And Sully, goes to the window and gets in and carries her outside into the clinic. She has a huge cut on her leg that Dr. Mike has to heal up. And she has to use a cane after that. And you can tell she's ready to be done. Dr. Mike had previously gone out of town with Dorothy, not really out of town, but the outskirts of town, and to get the people that are not in town to see if they would vote for her. And she missed Snowbird's ceremony. I don't know really what kind of ceremony it was, but Sully was like, this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. It only happens once. And he made it very specific to do that one with his finger. So he is upset about that. But again, he comes to the homestead. He brings her some sweet-looking flowers, beautiful flowers. And he says he has a plan. And she's like, what is it? And he's like, just for once, just trust me and don't ask questions. Which is hard for Dr. Mike to do. Dr. Mike and Jake did have a, oh my gosh, debate. I couldn't think of the word. They had a debate. Dr. Mike was saying that they should hire a sheriff, a school teacher. Jake said, where are we getting all this money? From the taxpayers. And then he kind of goes in on the saloon and how she's against drinking and prostitution. And she said, I already said that I would never, stop people from drinking. And he said, but what about entertaining? She tries to defer it. She tries to, take it into a different direction. Because obviously, if she says she's in agreement with ending prostitution, she's going to lose the crowd that is mostly men. So she tries to defer it, but, Jake keeps pressing her because he wants to win the debate. And he knows that if he gets her to say this, that he will win the debate. She eventually says, yes, she does not agree with prostitution. That's the end of that debate, basically. So they get to the day of the election. Come on. They get to the day of the election. Everyone's in line to vote. The men. It's my dog. She's wild. And it's exciting. Robert E. gets to vote for the first time. And Dr. Mike gets to vote because she owns the clinic. And then this whole group of women come with her. And, the men win. he's checking people in, and he said, there you go, Dr. Mike, but he says, the rest of you women, I'm sorry that you don't own property, so you can't vote. And Dorothy's like, yes, we can. We own property now. And she said that Sully had given each of the women in town a small piece of his land to own, which, oh my gosh, so sweet. Like, I don't know, I want to cry that there's men out there like that. He literally sold off pieces of his property to the women in town so that they would be able to vote, so that Dr. Mike would have a better chance of winning. And I don't know, that's just so special. That just shows how much he loves and cares about her and also believes in her. So all of the women get to vote, even Myra. And it's just such a special moment. I don't ever realize how much that meant to me until I just talking about it right then, that the women got to vote, and that was a lot of their first time voting. I remember the first time I voted in the presidential election in 2008, 2009 maybe, when President Barack Obama ran for the first time. I remember what it was like to vote in that election, and when he won, it was just an amazing feeling as a young 20-something. Yeah, I can't even imagine how they must have felt, how Robert E. and Grace felt. Just very cool. But they then try to make an agreement with, Dr. Mike, Jake, Dorothy, and Lauren. They all meet to kind of call a truce and have each of them get something that they want. So they said that Dr. Mike's like, okay, well, if you all win, you have to give women the right to vote, even if they don't own property. And they said, well, if you win, you have to promise not to and get rid of the saloon, the drinking, the prostitution, and all of that. Dr. Mike was very hesitant about it because obviously that was a big issue, right? And she definitely does not believe in prostitution. Again, she said that she would never stop people from drinking. That's their choice. But she does not believe in prostitution. But she eventually caved because Dorothy said, if we have the right to vote, that opens so many doors. We can work on the prostitution thing down the line. We will have a say in stuff. And she has a point. Sometimes you have to take baby steps to get to where you want things to be. If it wasn't for people like Dr. Mike, prostitution would still be illegal. And it's not, which is, it shouldn't be. So yeah, they made that agreement. So the results are in. So it looks like Horace and the Reverend tallied up the votes, and Jake got 131 votes, and Dr. Mike got 98 votes. So Jake won. He is the mayor of the town, and I will have to say, as you can see as time goes on, you'll see that he actually is a good mayor. And he kept his promise. The first thing he did was he put into motion the right for women to vote in the town. So that was pretty cool. After that, Myra ups and quits. Yeah, she tears up her contract and walks out of the saloon. And Dr. Mike, says you can stay in the clinic, you can stay in one of the open rooms, and that she would help her and do whatever she could. So Myra's a free woman, so we'll have to see what happens with that. So my favorite thing in this episode is just Sully's heart. Yes, he was against it in the beginning for his own selfish reasons probably, and I'd probably do the same. But he eventually came around, and he did the most sweetest thing by giving the women in town a small piece of his land so that they could vote and give Dr. Mike a better chance at winning. My least favorite thing was how Matthew acted. Like, I know he's a man, but I felt like he should have been more supportive of Dr. Mike in the beginning, and he wasn't until later on. The most surprising thing, I don't know. I guess Matthew, again, that just surprised me that he didn't support Dr. Mike in the beginning, as well as Robert E. You know, I just couldn't understand why he was having such a problem deciding between Jake and Dr. Mike. And then, yeah, that's kind of wraps up and sums up this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. On to the next one, Man in the Moon. So we kind of see the retaliation from Hank of Myra leaving, seeing how he handles it, which, as you can imagine, not well. But we are coming towards the end of the season. For some reason, I thought there was like 35 episodes in the season, but there's like 27. So we're getting to some pretty good episodes coming up. We have 3 more, I believe, of this season. And yeah, I'm so excited. I can't believe we're almost through the 2nd season. I know it's been a bit of a long haul, and we still have season 3, 4, 5 to go. Lots more things coming. And yeah, we'll have to see what happens with Dr. Mike and Sully and where their relationship goes. What happens now that Myra torn up her contract. And yeah, I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Talk to you guys later.